Yo, this is Sulada. And they all be talking about concepts and how humanity, because yes, people say, oh, you're not human. And like, I agree with I'm not human, but it's a collective thing, like humanity. So even though you're not human or not, if you're human or not human, you still in a collective of called humanity. But how humanity uses concepts and then try to use it as like weapons instead of try to use it to build something together. Many like some animalistic root, like root chakra, sacral chakra, solar plexus, definitely, because like it's mainly like Luciferian type, and like not to take the spookism out of the Luciferian term, it's just the Luciferian the idea or the spark, and then using it as an ego, and then like most people use their egos to bash on people or to show off or to be better, like try to competition, that competition energy, which Lucifer is just like you sparking the idea of creativity. That's what Lucifer is. But the spookism, how some religions use it, or the some people use the mysticism of Lucifer. It's like, oh, it's like the devil or Satan, but that's completely opposite. But going that to say how humanity uses egos and shit like that. And like I know everybody's not like that, but let's be honest, like it's majority of people act like this. And like for example, I was on live because I do a little bit of communication and shit like that, because like I got air qualities, but I'm online, talking and going on people's lives and shit like that, and see what they talking about, man. Usually they talk about bullshit, and some people, if I find a good enough live, they talk about some real that shit. But yeah, I mentioned I probably mentioned this on a video or some shit, but yeah, I was on three. All right, so these niggas was talking about like, oh, like religion and Jesus and shit like that, like, and like it's so crazy how like people will beat up another person over like a thought or an idea, and like they was fighting over these terms and shit like that, like cussing each other out and shit like that. And it's like, wow. And then the thing is, they didn't even create these concepts, and it really shows how deep of like a behave, like it's, yeah, it's the behavior, but like the psychological, like of like these motherfuckers, like it's like really nasty and crazy. Like, and then like on top of that, it was a dude and a woman, and there's a saying that woman, you shouldn't speak out of emotion, which is your woman. And like, not to say like a woman can't, but like the argument was not even like the debate, or like trying to like battle each other, was not even fair because it was over emotion and logic. But going to that saying, like the concept, like how people use concepts to try to big over somebody and trying to like debate, like you should be using concepts to build shit together instead of trying to like one on somebody. And like, let's be honest, there's gonna be competition and shit going on regardless, because that's how some things are. But like, in the as things are growing and expanding, you should use concepts to build shit instead of try to tear down people, or using the same old concept like 2,000 years and shit like that, or like however long these religions and practices are. There should be some updates and shit like that. It's just like me waking up. Every time you wake up every day, it's something new. It should be a new concept. So like these concepts and shit like that, like Jesus is not even like a real person. It's an allegory to your solar plexus, and they call it Christ consciousness. So it's like a, and also another way to look at it is like your kundalini, your I say kundalini, your kundalini and shit like that. Like your Christ consciousness, it rises to the crown. You get out your animalistic state, and you start to become enlightened. And how people use it is like, oh, my Jesus and shit like that. Like it's like some type of crutch, or my this, my that. And then also looking at the different way of looking at it, like the different angle, or like you looking at a different position or in a different type of space, but really it's actually just things that you create. But how society put as it makes it lost, like lostness, like something's outside of you. But people don't take accountability to say like, oh yeah, I create this. And shout out to Mooney Mercury, baby. He dropped a video saying that how humans exaggerate, and they like to run away from the truth or hide the truth, and they don't want to take accountability. Simply, what put and said, they don't want to take accountability, saying that, oh, I create this. So they do use all type of complex things and lostness, which is the religion and shit like that. In totality, religion is the why is it named religion? Because it's all broken to pieces, and when you combine we combine all these religions together, they all have a piece of the puzzle, but everybody's in their fucking ego and different concepts and shit like that. And like, don't get me wrong, there's truth in everything, but it's just how used. Like I said, that Luciferian spirit, how people use the Luciferian spirit and turn to an ego, and so they could be up on somebody or look better than somebody or trying to compete with somebody and shit like that. Instead of saying like, okay, we all know that we can create some shit, so why not we come together? But people don't think like that because they only like it's just I don't like it makes sense, but at the same time it don't make sense on how like broad like it makes sense like, man, these niggas want to come together, but once you start to like become more like expansive, like what the fuck, like you like it's nasty getting to that train of thought. I don't want to get in that train of thought. It's like but like sometimes you gotta do the dirty work. But like it's like you do it at the same time, but you don't want to do it, but you got to do it. But it's like, man, y'all don't really have to do it at the same time. It's like so many aspects, but like it's like but yeah, people use these things, and that's why we got religion. Like, I posted a video on my YouTube, it was like months ago, about Dolo talking about like how the religions like Islam, just say like this world's like a neighborhood, and so just say like this part of the country is a house, that part of the country is a house, this part of the country house, and that part of the country house. So Islam's a house, Christianity's a house, and then you got Buddhism, uh, Islam, like one of them niggas that be talking on the street, they be like the African Islam shit, but it's kind of like an Islam, but it's like they kind of jacked off Islam a little bit, like the little things, but they made their own remix and shit like that. Basically, just all the religions are houses, but they're in the same neighborhood, but all of them can come together. Oh shit, I gotta blow my nose. All them can't even come together and shit like that because all them in their egos, so they have differences and shit like that. And let's be honest, everybody has differences. Everybody has differences and shit like that, and that's totally cool. But it's like, okay, learn how to separate, learn how to compromise on shit. And one thing I picked up, this is a spiritual root race. So like back in a couple of years and shit, like you have natives, indigenous and shit like that on this land. They in the same root race, because like most of them across the land, they had the same type of styles and shit like that. Even though they had their differences, they were still in the same type of root race where they think alike, but even though they think alike, they still have their own type of tribe. Which some of them went to war and some of them made like peace treaties and shit like that. And like most of them went to war over land and territory, but it was not even like not like that bad as it is right now, like so like retarded. But my main point is like the spiritual root race, like how they all the same, but they had their little disagreements or they different type of styles, because everybody gonna have their type of styles and swag and shit like that. But you still like try to compromise and come together. But that goes to say, like, yeah, they can't even come together, like, these religions and shit like that. And they just concepts. At the end of the day, there's just concepts. Like, I can make a concept and then bring enough people, because teamwork makes the dream work, and then make it to a practice, which religion is just a practice. It ain't something to be all spookism and, like, thinking there's something outside of you that's going to save you, because everything's internal. You externalize. But, yeah, take that piece of the religion and how the household is, and then also take another piece is like the indigenous, how they're in the same root race, but they all have their own different type of styles. And then also take what I just said, like how people argue and shit like that. And then the simple thing is just about the concept, because like take all these things and then like, all these things that I just said, and then trickle it down, bring it down, like, because like everything starts simple. You don't want to make it too complex, but just bring it to the ground, saying that, okay, this start from a concept, but then people start adding waters, adding color to it, and then make it all stench. Just like how, like the term word God, shout out to Mooney Mercury, baby, he mentioned that, like the word term God, like I like to say God, but like I don't really like to say it because it's so much stench and spit and like spoiledness on the word that you can't even use it. Like, you know how you say certain words and like when you say it you don't really like mean it like that, but like when you say it, you know what you meant. It's like that. Like that's what I'm talking about. Like they take different things and then put their own color on it, and which there's nothing wrong with putting color on it, but like what type of color you put on it, how much color you put on it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's nothing wrong with like having your own way of seeing things, but what are you doing? It's not what you do, it's how you do it. So yeah, like they put their own concept and their own color and shit like that, and then they like get egotistical and try to battle each other, and then try to like deceive people and shit like that, and then people get lost, and then you got other niggas that's so lost that they can't make their own concepts, and they so like this it's a self-esteem thing too. It's self-esteem. Damn, it's getting gassy and shit. Like not gassy like coming my butt or some shit, but it's gassy because like so much of this talking and shit. Like because like once you start to be broad as a space, you start to like talk, like you start to like become more broad, you start to notice things and shit like that, like go into different spaces and shit. But yeah, then like you got these people, but she's humans, they like to use these concepts and formats as a tool and a shield, and then knowing damn well they didn't make these concepts. And then when somebody is different, they like to bash on the people that's different, and then try to uphold these concepts and formats and people that made it. But it's like the people that made it so they can have like a structure, because in a way of thinking, like if there was no structure, there's probably no telling how humans will be, like because like they were in the root chakra. But also the structures, um you can't blame the structures for things, because like at this point it's like, oh yeah, the structures limited you. Like yeah, that's true in a way, but like it really don't once you start to like become more accountable and shit like that. Like it does in a way, because that's just only because like the majority. But in reality, in another way, it's really ain't that bad just to take accountability. Cause it's you basically like when you blame too much shit on outside things, you giving it power instead of trying to like take the power and then use it for certain things. Because in totality, we can say, oh yeah, the government this, government that. Yes, they make these type of structures and shit like that, but you can't blame them for long, because it's like what you doing. Like you sound like a bitch complaining all day and shit like that. So you can't really blame the outside things from saying, oh yeah, it's taking my power away, because you give your power what you give attention to. And let's be honest, we in a daily ass world. So you're gonna give your attention to shit, but it's like what you do with it, how you do with it. How can you take this product and make it to something better? How can you take this product and do something with it instead of just doing the product in an animistic in an animalistic, I can't even speak these English language and shit like that. Animalistic natures, and do something more like broad and like enlightened, you know what I'm saying, more intellectual, instead of like taking it and do some animalistic shit with it. And yeah, so like yeah, going to that, they like to bash on people that have their own mind and shit, but they know damn well they don't have their own mind to like argue against, or like not even argue, or just to build up against. That's why anytime you being yourself around these people, they feel weird, because they don't it's like they're limited and they're robotic, because they don't have their own mind. And we don't have your own mind, you really ain't shit. And there's nothing wrong with being shit, but like you really ain't shit. Like when you be close to nothing, yeah, it's cool being close to nothing, but you also gotta do shit. So like they really ain't shit, and they can't really do shit because they're not themselves. And then they like to like bash on people, but like it's like I'm trying to say, like they don't got their own swag. They don't got nothing like to show for themselves. And it ain't all about like me, because of course we do things as a team, but like when it comes down to it, of how these people act in their psychology, they really don't have their own mind. They don't do shit. They're not creative. They don't think for themselves at all. And like that's why like in school and shit like that, like you know them like them teacher pets and shit, like they try hard to like be light, and like try to hard to like be like the teacher's pet. Basically, that's what I'm saying. The teacher's pet. Like them people try hard to like be validated and shit like that. And like me, I ain't gonna lie, I got in trouble with school. I didn't really give a fuck. Like I like having fun and shit like that, but like I didn't really see the point of going to school when you could just learn for yourself, when you have your own mind. And like the school, like okay, I'm going off a little bit, but the teacher's pet, yeah, they try to be light and shit like that. But when they go like around with they like age group and stuff, it's like kind of awkward, because you could say yeah they more advanced, but like when you're more advanced, you be actually like hang around with people that like light age instead of trying to be validated. And there's many ways to look at it, but my main point is like, you trying hard to be in this type of space where you validate it, and when you don't have your own mind, like you trying so hard to be like under somebody. And that's how most of these people are, like these humans, when they deal with these concepts, it's like they're under somebody and they're using all these things, and then they can't even think for themselves. And then when they go like around with people that's like different, they don't know how to act or react, or like not react, but like act or participate. And then they'll be saying that, oh, that's weird. Like in totality, you're weird because, not, I don't like to use the word weird, but like you're not in place because you don't have your own mind, you don't have the tangibility to think for yourself, or just to be yourself around crowd, like, because it'd be like insecurities or like some things that's going on around your environment that you picked up, trace your environment, trace around your environment that you picked up. And they also go to say like, yeah, like the schooling system and shit like that, like the schooling system's ass is really trash. And like me, I used to get in trouble all the time. Like, yeah, I was an intelligent kid. I'm still intelligent, but as a child, I was intelligent, but I didn't really give a fuck about the work because like the work wasn't really teaching me shit. I can go outside and learn more. I keep taking, damn, I'm speaking backwards like a motherfucker. I can learn more at the playground than I can learn in a fucking classroom, just going outside and shit like that. Like that's what I'm saying, like, cause like the motherfucking schooling is backwards. The teaching's too complex and backwards. Like everything's reversed. It's like bullshit. Like instead of going complex and then simple, I mean, you should go simple then complex instead of going complex and simple. Niggas like to go complex and simple. The English is ass. I had trouble with English. I didn't like English at all. Like all these concepts that's man-made and shit like that, it's really bullshit. And instead of just being simplified, and which is just natural. And the reason why it's so complex because there's so much added light and thoughts and feelings that's like demonic and shit like that. Because let's be honest, when you closer to nothing, it's really simple. Then try to be complex. When it's too much complexity and shit like that, you trying to reach to them. It's like going to the most high. You trying to reach to the most high, trying. You adding thoughts and feelings and shit like that and making it heavy. And that's why like all these people got like fucked up mentalities and shit like that. They can't even think for themselves. And then when you think for themselves, they try to throw some rocks and shit and shoot you because they can't even think straight. They don't have their own mind because they've been programmed by these motherfucking platforms and formats and shit like that. But when you close to nothing, you're able to see clear as day. You know, you don't have to say shit. You just see it. You just see it. It's plain like simple, like click. You know what I'm saying? But based on this video is about the concepts and how people use it, and also like the different things I just said. Like I just ran the freestyle a little bit, but basically how like humanity uses concepts. And I know everybody doesn't use these type of concepts in different type of ways, but majority the spiritual root race of this humanity uses concepts to bash people and being their egos and biasness. And they can't grow. You can't grow from biasness. When you stuck in a bias, you can't grow from that shit. Like religion is cool. It's like me making a practice and like, doing that shit for years and years. That shit don't change, and that's just a bias because that's, you made a thought and then you made it to a routine, and then you made it to a practice for a collective, and that shit don't change. And you got niggas stuck in thinking that Jesus is something that's going to save them, which in totality you make your own life in reality. How the fuck else you got here? If you didn't create or made yourself, I mean not made yourself, but if you didn't like create, you think something outside of yourself is going to help you or save you, like shit like that. Like that's some bullshit right there. But I think I said everything I want to say. Like I always want to like I always be spitting shit, but there's always more I want to say. So that's why I won't be taking my time, but at the same time, I try to talk slow and shit like that. And then also I'll be like having different points, but I also want to like hit them points and shit. But I think I said everything I want to say about the concepts and how humanity uses these concepts, and then trickling down to my childhood. Like I didn't really give a fuck. I learned more than outside, and also communicate with some people because like I was like a really social kid, like communicating with people. and also seeing how the way people communicate in like different like type of environments. Because I grew up around the so-called ghetto, I grew up around the so-called rich and shit like that. I didn't really see the difference, like how people try to make themselves like, oh yeah, I'm rich, or yeah, oh yeah, I'm poor. I just seen it like it is what it is. But like the way I learned through it's like you can't like be too coddled and shit like that. And I was a little coddled, even though I fought with that shit. It's just the I'm kind of getting personal with it, but hope y'all can learn something from it. But you can't get too like close minded and shit like that. You got to get out there and learn some shit and like be around the social environment, and like you gotta learn like from all type of aspects of different type of environments instead of being a bias and shit. Because when you being a bias, you can't learn from nothing. I mean, you can't learn from anything and stuff. And also like knowledge is cool. There's nothing wrong with knowledge and learning shit, but like you get expanded from wisdom instead of a knowledge. Because like a lot of what I can say like about this race, special race, is about, yeah, they hold knowledge more than wisdom. They don't like to go out and step out their comfort zone to learn. And that also connects to how I learned from different environments like the ghetto and then the suburbs and like different schooling systems and shit like that. Because I did moved a lot, but like I would say like, yeah, I learned some shit. Like I just didn't do that shit for nothing. And also how people communicate and shit like that. Because a lot of people, I would say in the ghetto, like they had to try